All right, we are now live with episode, I think, 5 or 6 or
Yes, sir.
something.
It's episode 5.
Uh, five,
Yep.
six.
Uh,
Yeah, five. We'll go with five.
yeah, we'll just go with fix. Episode 5 or 6. We don't even know. I lost track. I stopped caring. We're just going with episode that. So today we are going to start off real quick by quickly touching on the MLB playoff race because as of right now, there's really not a whole lot that needs to be said. The National League side is all sewn up except for seeding and the final wild card, which, in all honesty, because of the monumental collapse by the Braves, they're going to get eliminated. I mean, I don't see any way the Braves can get it done, especially with all the injuries they've got. But aside from
Yeah.
that, they have that massive collapse that has gone on with the Twins and now lately the Royals, who are on the verge of potentially being knocked out of the playoffs as well because they can't seem to win a game to save their lives now. So, what do you what do you got on your mind about that, Steve?
Can you
Steve,
guys hear me?
I can now.
Oh, there we go.
I was just saying. Yeah, I was just saying. We can
Sorry.
hear you now.
All right. So the last I heard was the Royals collapse. So, sorry. Like a phone call came in, and then I didn't, and then I couldn't hear anything.
Yeah,
But
that was basically all I said was with the massive collapse with the Twins and the Royals. It's the AL wildcard race has gotten extremely interesting. So, what are
yeah,
your thoughts on this?
and that's what I wanted to say was like Corey was so right when he said, "Look at the Tigers; they're dangerously close." Even though at the time they weren't dangerously close, like the Twins. I mean, they had like a 4-game lead, and we can talk about the Twins collapse, but the Royals collapse is actually
It's
bigger
pretty monumental. I
because
was gonna say it's pretty monumental when you think about it.
the Royals were ahead of the Twins, and the Tigers have caught the Royals. Um, so while the Royals would still be in as of today, the Tigers caught them. And if you look at the schedules, you've got to love the Tigers' chances of actually getting in. They end with the White Sox, who are probably the worst team that I can remember in my lifetime in baseball.
Yeah,
And so you got to love the Tigers' chances at getting in, and Minnesota's got to play Baltimore, and you go, wow, that AL wild card drastically looks different. Um,
hmm
and then over on the NL side, I don't want to call it like a Braves collapse. I just want to call it like the Braves like broke just physically. But
yeah,
meanwhile, like you gotta like the Dodgers are in danger of being a team that could have been a 1 seed to being a wild card team. And that's a big deal because not only are you then not getting a bye, which one could argue does it have benefits or not having the bye, but home field in the playoffs is that's a big deal.
oh,
And so
massively.
you're looking at a team who, was looked at being a 1 seed or a 2 seed at worst, and getting home field either throughout the NL playoffs or for a good chunk to a wild card team. Um, and yeah, that's just some crazy stuff that has happened here in the last 2 weeks of baseball. And I will take that and go, speaking of crazy stuff, how about UNLV football?
Oh, I know, man. I cannot wrap my mind about around what's going on right now because it's like you hear one thing and you're like, man, that's shitty. Then you hear another thing and it's like, man, that's shittier. And then you hear like something different. It's like, dude, what the hell is going on here? Like,
This is the
what is
shittiest.
going on with this whole story?
It's all over the
Yeah.
place. It's a complete mess, honestly.
So for those who are not aware, the UNLV quarterback announced Tuesday night on, I think, Instagram, right?
Yes.
Something like that.
That he was no longer going to be playing football for the rest of the season for UNLV so he could preserve a red shirt because UNLV had not met their NIL obligations. Since then, there's been a lot of speculation. UNLV has come out and said, we've met all of our NIL obligations. The quarterback has come out and said, no, they were supposed to pay me $100,000, but I only got $3,000 for a relocation fee. So there's been so much that has come out on this that it's just insane because it's college football for one, and it just, to me, it shows the problem of NIL and
Immediately.
where college is going, and how I don't like it. And I said this to a friend of mine. I mean, this would have been probably 8 years ago when when NIL was first getting talked about. It would have been
Mm-hmm.
a few years after the Ed O'Bannon lawsuit. And I was in the camp of, and I'm still in this camp of, you're going to college, you get to go for free, so you're getting paid.
Yeah.
And I always reference Mike Golick because back when Mike and Mike was on,
I miss that show.
yeah, I know, but Mike Golick had said to Greeny, and I remember it because it resonated with me, and I was like, yes. He goes, Greeny, let's say you and I went to Notre Dame for the same degree. I went for free. You had to pay. So you're starting out in debt. Now, only like 1% of college football players even go to the NFL in some fashion. He goes, so you're starting in debt. I'm not. I'm not going to the NFL because I'm not in that 1%. But we're going for the same job. And we're trying to stay in that South Bend area. And they interview me and you. Who do you think they're going to hire? They're going to probably hire me because I played football for Notre Dame. I have name notoriety in this area and maybe even in some other areas because I was a college football player for Notre Dame. So now I have a better time getting a job because I got to play college football for Notre Dame. And you're starting out life in debt and I'm not. And I think that fundamental thought process is lost now. And
Yep.
so I had told a buddy, I was like, that's how I fundamentally feel. And if they're going to go to NIL, then I think scholarships should die and they should go away. And you should make them pay their own tuition to go to school. And he said, well, if they do that, that they're not going to pay for their education. Somebody else will. And I said, I don't really care how it gets paid for. Let's just get rid of scholarships and stop pretending then. And now look at this UNLV situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you
To
paid me.
me,
No, you didn't. Yeah, I did. You know?
yeah. And to me, this is a kid who, is a transfer from Holy Cross, and he's a senior. So odds are probably not an NFL prospect. Okay.
Yep.
Looking to make as much money in NIL as he possibly can. And I look at this situation and go, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's not trying to milk NIL for as much. Maybe UNLV screwed him over. But this is why you need to have actual contracts then. This is when the NCAA needs to just stop fighting all of this crap in court and go, this is the new college football era. and we need to actually have contracts and expectations lined out. So if these players are doing this, then you can go after them for breach of contract as a school and get your money back. And then maybe the NCAA could somehow institute penalties for said player if they were to do that, to say, oh, you cannot transfer without sitting out a year. Or if they can't do that, maybe there's like a suspension that goes with it for like 2 games or something like that. But Kirby Smart did an interview after this has happened. He's like, "This isn't going to be the first time it happens, and it's not going to be the last."
Nope.
It's just like the first one that's been very, very public, and I think college football needs to get in front of this, and they need to get something in place for this ASAP, because you could potentially start losing fans. Um, Tennessee, Corey, I know like you sent it in our group chat and we kind of talked about it as a little group. Tennessee is going to start charging season ticket holders a 10% NIL fee. My parents are season ticket holders to Iowa Hawkeye football. I have been, they're actually in my name technically. But I've had my own tickets too, but we've had them for almost 20 years. And I'll tell you what, you start charging a 10% fee. I know how Iowa fans who buy tickets are. They will revolt. If this is the kind of stuff that's going to happen with NIL, and now they have to pay an additional fee on top of it.
Oh
Well,
yeah, definitely.
I would like
go
to
ahead.
pitch in because this is my thing, because I'm thankful to believe this, and it's not that it's true, and it's just kind of like a thing, like a gut feeling that I have. So it's just like, number one, either this guy's trying to use this publicity that he's getting to get a sweeter deal with a different team, because we all know he's about to hit the transfer.
Oh yeah.
And then second thing is, like, I'm not sure that all, like, we're gonna see that a lot, but we're definitely going to see that a bit. Like, the transfer thing. Oh, you didn't pay me. Oh, this and that. Like, we're going to see it quite a bit now. But because I remember reading into this a tad bit, not too much, but there's a player leading into the release of the college football game, and he absolutely lost his shit because he wasn't making diddly squat off of it. I was like, that's kind of like, and that was like the deal for everybody. Like, everybody got the same cut and dry deal for that game.
Oh yeah.
So like,
yep.
if they were using your likeness, like, you're getting paid the same amount.
$600 and a free copy of the game.
Yep. It was Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah. Okay. So yes.
Because
so
Shedeur
like
was pissed off because he felt like, because he was a bigger name than everybody else, that he deserved a bigger cut of the game, and he decided he didn't want to be part of the game. And then, come within like a week or so of the game actually releasing, he redacted his statement. He's like, actually, can I be part of the game, please?
Yeah. See, some people are gonna wise up and be smart. You can make the ruckus and you can ruffle a few feathers, but when you really look at it, are they gonna end up giving you more money, or are you just making a scene for nothing? Because I'm pretty sure Shedeur probably realized that.
Well, because I know this isn't the first time we've seen an issue when it comes to transferring due to NIL. Iowa fans know about this because they had that shit happen to them this summer with that offensive lineman. Guy transferred to Iowa from Alabama and was like, I'm back home, guys. Let's do this. And then realized he ain't going to make shit off of NIL because it's Iowa. And then he's like, bye, Alabama. I'm back home, baby. Let's do this.
It wasn't so much he wasn't going to make shit at Iowa, because Iowa's got a lot of NIL money. But so the Caden Proctor situation is a whole different beast, because you're talking about a kid who committed to Iowa all the way up until 2 days before signing day, and then flipped to Alabama. And I've heard some of the rumors about how much he was going to get paid and everything. I won't say. And then I think he went to Alabama last year, and maybe wasn't overly happy with how things were going and decided to transfer. And you know, I don't have any confirmation of this, but you pretty much know he came to Iowa. He had a pissed off locker room. They hated his ass. You
Mhm.
committed here and then you bailed on us 2 days before signing day, and you want us to welcome you with open arms in this locker room? Piss off, man. And then Alabama came knocking and said, well, we'll give you some more money. I mean, that's what happened. And that's what this shit is. And that's the problem with the spring transfer portal, because you have the transfer portal and these guys can leave and then they can go to their new school, but you got a spring portal where they can just up and leave again. Um, and so all that's going to take is a really smart, savvy coach and system to go, hey, go transfer here and come back and let us know what their shit looks like.
Yep.
That's like
Heck,
scouting right there, more or less.
yeah. And there would be nothing illegal about it. Kid entered the transfer portal, went to his school, entered the transfer portal, came back, said, hey, this is what the playbook looks like.
Yeah, because you know damn well if a kid transfers solely for the purposes of like scouting out the playbook and stuff like that, they're gonna get that playbook, get copies made, and then be like, well, actually, you know what? Looking at the playbook, it's not the right fit for me. Like, it's not the right system. I just don't feel comfortable here. I'm just gonna leave, go back to their original school, and be like, hey, look what I got. Read it and wait, boys.
Yeah,
So this is
I
this is my thought about him in particular, the player that out of UNLV, right? So I think because teams will fail at recruiting, and it happens all the time.
oh
So
yeah,
I think one of these teams that loses one of their star players, especially at the QB position, because that's probably one of the most scouted positions, he will end up getting probably a bigger NIL deal, and it will
oh
probably be with
100%.
a bigger program. And my guess is that we'll end up seeing his name pop up a lot more come next season because he will get a little bit more exposure thanks to all of this. And I think it
I'm
really was a
going.
publicity stunt because the way I'm looking at it now, it wasn't entirely the way I was looking at it to begin with. But the way I'm looking at it now is like there ain't no way this dude didn't do this to try to gas himself up and make more money.
Yeah, that's how I feel too, Dakota. Like, I think ultimately you're going to see him get a bigger NIL deal from a school. I mean, by no means do I think he's going to like a top tier school,
No, but
but
we'll
could
definitely.
he could he go to a middle of the pack Power Four school? Yeah, sure. Um, I mean, he's going to go from the Mountain West to a Power Four conference, and will he have success? Who knows? It's hard to say. Um, but there is a slight chance it absolutely blows up in his face.
Oh yeah,
And
100%.
schools don't want to touch him. The one thing he does have going for him, though, and why it's most likely going to succeed, is he is a senior. So
You
other
got 1
schools
year. That's
know
1 year. You don't have
that.
to commit a
Well,
lot
they
to him.
know, but the schools know he can't do that to them, because you can only redshirt and play so long. So they know that, well, he can't do that to us because he'll be done.
Yeah.
um but and he's a quarterback. If this was some other position, I would say that they're treading in dangerous waters to try to get more money.
Yeah.
um but
Especially
we
as
all
a
know,
senior. It was like, yeah, that's almost career suicide.
yeah, so we all know how valued the QB position is in college and NFL. So
Yep. And I mean that's the big thing with him too, because like you said, I mean you could easily see him going to like a mid-pack Power Four school. Like, I mean, there is a school that immediately comes to mind that struggles with quarterbacks right now, and it's Iowa. I mean, you got Iowa that could probably use his expertise and uh, his talents got Wisconsin that could use his
And
talent after this.
and maybe it's just me thinking of it from like an NFL journeyman standpoint, like of like maybe what he's gone through in terms of college, because he did transfer, from one school already. So like with him being a senior and as much time as he's actually had to play, I don't know what his college career looks like at Holy Cross, but I can only imagine that if he was good enough to get that transfer to UNLV, that he can own, he could, he wasn't absolute trash, and that there is a significant, like, maybe he realized that he was better than the deal that he was given.
And I'm sure that's exactly what the problem is here, is because, he originally thought, I'm coming in from Holy Cross and I'm going to go to UNLV, and UNLV's like, okay, well, we'll give you $100K to transfer here so that way you can move here and all that other crap. And he's like, okay, well, that's cool. That works for me. $100,000 for a year. I'm, a small town, small school
like there's
quarterback.
also
Let's
maybe
do
one
this.
other factor that people aren't really taking into consideration, and it maybe could be winning. And
Well, that's exactly what the problem is.
And just
And
and
that's the thing is UNLV's 3-0, so the guy goes to UNLV. Hey man, I'm gonna go to Vegas, baby, and rock out my senior year. And then UNLV gets off to this quick 3-0 start, and he's like, "Whoa, I think I can go make more money next year." Like we actually ended up being good these first 3 games. If UNLV's sitting at 1 or 2, this isn't even happening.
No.
Nope. Not at all. Because if they're sitting at 1 and 2, that means either the quarterback play has not been what it has been, or the defense has been terrible. Something's been going on there, and nobody gives a damn because it's UNLV. But now, because UNLV's 3-0, and they're one of the very few undefeated teams left in the country, of course it's there's the talk of the country right now, because like you said, they're undefeated, and he's been a large reason why they're undefeated right now. And I think that plays a lot into this whole situation, is because, like I said, he did come from Holy Cross, which is like a small college, and transferring to UNLV, he probably figured 100K is all I'm really going to get anyways, because I'm coming from a small school. Let's just give this a shot. It's whatever. And then accompany that with winning and him playing very well, he's like, holy shit, I'm better than what I thought. I can get a lot more money from this, because I guarantee you he's probably heard from other schools that have been chirping in his ear like, hey, guess what? Come over here. We'll give you a lot more money.
And when he went to UNLV, he probably took the biggest NIL offer that was out there.
Mm-hmm.
And
probably as big as they offered.
Yeah, and we're never going to know. We're not going to know if other teams have been chirping in his ear. I'd love for him to screw up and say it, though, so they could just drop the hammer on those schools for recruiting a kid that's at a school.
Yep.
But, somebody's probably chirped and been like, 100K, man, we got 250 sitting here.
But this kid probably is sitting there also thinking, like, hey, man, my senior year, like, I'm thinking, like, this kid already took a chance going from Holy Cross to UNLV anyway. Like, who knows if his skills were, like, who knew if his skills were going to translate that well? And evidently they did. And now he's thinking, like Corey said, fuck, dude, like, I'm a lot better than what this school is. I'm leading this. I can go somewhere else. And good on him for taking that chance, because we're probably going to see a lot more of it in college sooner rather than later.
Oh God, we're going to.
But also at the same time, he is kind of setting the real stage for it, especially in the fashion. He's also trying to
and that is why the NCAA needs to stop bitching about these antitrust stuff and the union stuff with Congress, and get to work and accept that this is the new life, and start doing things that will help these schools get these kids under an actual contract for NIL, so that if they do try to do this shit, They can sue him.
suspensions.
They can sue him for breach of contract. I feel
Mhm.
bad for the UNLV NIL folks who just got screwed out of 100K by a greedy fucking 21, 22-year-old kid who wants to go and double it, and he's going to walk away with the 100K with no repercussions. And to me, that's bullshit, and it's the biggest problem with NIL.
Now, in hindsight, what if the backup comes out and absolutely fucking kills it? Is it really like a loss on UNLV though?
Absolutely, it's still a 100K loss.
Yeah, that is money that they
Because
just
remember,
lost out on.
NIL is not funded by the universities.
Yeah, I was gonna
It
say it's
is
not
funded.
It's
scholarship
all
money.
boosters and
It is
sponsors.
all, and it's like not even quote unquote boosters because they like technically can't do anything with it, but it's like the Swarm beer, right? It's shit like that where people go and donate money or they buy this product that then turns the money to NIL. And obviously we're just gonna say boosters are obviously gonna be funneling money into the crap too. That's
Yeah.
who's screwed. So yeah, they're still out 100K because the kid quit,
Yeah.
and that's where it could backfire on him because schools might look at him and go, "That kid is a quitter. He walked away with 100K."
Okay, so I'm gonna kin this to uh, NFL team spending a fuck ton of money just for the player that retired before the season even started.
So in the NFL though, there's no guaranteed contracts.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Well,
So
I
there
feel
is
like
now.
I was gonna say we're starting
well,
to see that.
there's guaranteed money, but when a player retires though, they still own the rights to the player. So a player cannot unretire like a year later and go to
Carson
another
Right.
Wentz,
team.
Carson Palmer went through this whole deal. He retired for a few years and
Yep. And
was only
so
unable
I
to
mean,
retire.
Favre tried to do that shit.
and that's
Yeah,
why Favre got traded.
Oh
Uh,
shit.
there was some rumors about Megatron in Detroit and his
man, and let
contract.
me.
So
Oh man,
when they retire, so if they sign a 5-year deal, let's say, and they retire after year one, the team retains their rights for the next 4 years. So they still get paid their guaranteed money. But if they were to unretire because they retired because they just wanted to force their way out, they can't. So, like in the situation with the UNLV kid, like if he were to be like, yep, I'm retiring, well, you can't play next year because you're out of eligibility. So yeah, you got your 100K and you walked away, but you can't go play anywhere next year and make more money. That's the difference. And then in the NFL, like let's say it was like a 1-year deal. It's like let's say some guy signs like a 1 year $6 million deal with 2 guaranteed. Um, and he gets there, hates the situation, he's not gonna start, retires. He's gonna get his 2 million, but the team ain't paying him the 4.
no, that's for
and
sure.
and and probably in the 2 million there was probably some like type of show your ass up incentive, so he's probably walking away with 1, and it's no skin off any NFL owner's ass to pay $1 million. It's not
Especially
some
nowadays. I
right.
was gonna say
So
that's like pocket change for some of those owners.
but we are 4 weeks in, well technically 5, right?
Yeah.
There's a week 0 of college football.
And that AP
um
25 is looking pretty crazy right about now.
um I still, outside of Florida State, um, I still really I feel good about my college football picks for the most part. Texas looks really good. I did not have them in the playoffs, but if I look at the teams I picked, I guess I would just take Florida State out and put Texas in. Um,
Yep.
I think for the most part, I think things at the top of the pack are kind of playing out to how most people were seeing it. I think we look at, I think you look at obviously, Georgia and Alabama are really good, and same with Texas and Ole Miss. Ohio State, Oregon looks better now after week 1. Missouri, Tennessee looks really good.
What about LSU?
And pretty much
I
what we
think
think,
LSU
pretty
is
much what we
kind of just
thought.
yeah. I mean,
You know,
they show
US,
promise, but at the same time, like they've got a lot of things that they got to work through.
USC and Michigan, teams that we were like, they're not going to be great. I mean, they're still probably going to have a good record. Like Michigan, I don't think will have a great record. They have a really tough schedule, but
Yeah.
yeah, Michigan just beat USC barely at home. USC beat there. To me, there isn't anything at the top that's overly surprising.
No, your top outside
So
of
far.
Tennessee being in the top 5. I'd say your top 5 looks pretty standard, honestly. Other than
Um,
Texas being number 1, because
Hmm.
that is a that is a first in a long time.
and they deserve it, to be honest with you too. I mean,
Oh God,
100%.
yeah.
Because
As
how
good
long
as
have we
Georgia
been
is,
trashing that team for how bad they've been over the last 5-6 years, 10 years for some people? Like, that team has not been good in a long time, and it's actually kind of refreshing to see it.
yeah, Georgia's looked a little sloppy, and Texas just goes into Michigan and just thumps them. Um, and I know I've said that I don't think Michigan's going to be that great. It's not because Michigan doesn't have talent. It's because Michigan has one hell of a schedule. But there is still a lot of talent on that Michigan team, and they got their ass kicked in the big house. Uh, and now Texas is dealing with and this is why I left Texas out of my original playoff, because here you go, Quinn Ewers, right, gets hurt. Arch Manning comes in, looks real good for a game and a half. Arch Manning's going to play again, right? Do we have a quarterback controversy in Texas that could derail their season? Because that's the kind of shit that happens to some of these teams that are good, is they have that highly touted QB with that big name that comes in and derails the season because for one reason or the other, the starter, maybe struggles one game and gets benched, or in this case of Quinn Ewers, has a non-contact abdominal injury. And so Arch Manning comes in. And it reminds me of the late 90s, early 2000s when Major Applewhite was leading Texas quite well. And maybe some other NFL quarterback's kid was behind him, maybe named Chris Sims, and ended up taking Major Applewhite's job in the middle of the year and kind of derailed that season. So
Hmm.
I think, while Texas has looked good, I'm really curious to see how this Quinn Ewers injury, Arch Manning situation plays out.
Yeah, I completely agree because in terms of a quarterback controversy, that I mean, you could go either way on that because I feel like it probably won't, just because Ewers hasn't really given any reason not to, take him out of the starting lineup. But at the same time, in the day and age of NIL and in college football, money has always talked. Always. Boosters are going to look at him and then start chirping and be like, hey, you know what? We want Arch in. Put him in or we're pulling our money. And then immediately you're going to have your controversy, like you just said. So either way, I mean, it could very easily go one way or the other. But to me, I think once Ewers is fully healthy, I don't think they're going to pull
I
Ewers
was going to
for Arch.
say, I think Ewers will finish the season as their QB, and I think not for the sake of avoiding a QB controversy, because in my eyes, I don't see any reason to
Why?
to
He
allude
shouldn't.
to your point, pull Ewers for any reason other than he was unhealthy. With that being said, it is more than likely his last season, and we are and Arch Manning
Oh,
has more
Ewers is a
college
senior. I
football.
don't. Yeah,
You know?
Ewers
Yeah,
doesn't
Ewers is done.
have a choice.
That
So
yeah. So with that being said, it's Ewers last year in college football. We're more than likely going to see another year of Arch Manning in college football. So what? I mean, yeah, we've seen it hurt QBs previously, but what is it really going to do to hurt Arch Manning's stock here?
Oh,
The
I
dude's
don't
already
think
I
showed
know.
what he can do.
it's not. It's just boosting it big time because he's a
Yeah.
red shirt. He
Yeah, so
he redshirted last year. I believe this will make him technically a freshman still. So next
Yeah.
season he'll be a sophomore.
so
He'll still
if
have 3 years of
anything,
eligibility left.
so if
Oh,
anything, you're looking at an opportunity. He's looking at an opportunity to just boost his stock
Oh, he
with this
definitely boosted it.
opportunity. So I see him stepping aside and actually letting Ewers take it over. I don't see there being any
Yeah, 'cause
pushback or nothing. So
I think
Especially since the two are good buddies anyways.
yeah,
I think Arch looks at the situation in Texas and goes, I get a situation where I can learn 2 years behind Ewers. I think originally they were expecting it to be one. I think a lot of people were expecting Ewers to declare last year, and he didn't. Um, I think it was smart of Ewers to come back, considering I think he's one of the top 2 quarterbacks in this class, whereas last year
I was
he
gonna
would
say
have
there's not many
maybe
that
have
are
been like
better.
fourth, you know.
Yeah.
And so Arch Manning can sit for 2 years, learn, gets a little bit of playing time, right? And he could come out next year. And if he lights the world on fire, Arch Manning could be the #1 quarterback in, the 2026 draft. Because
Oh God,
Arch
yeah.
Manning could, because he could declare after next season because he'd been out of high school for 3 years, even
Yep.
though he would be a redshirt sophomore. So all this does is help Arch learn. And then if he explodes, he can leave.
If
But we all
anything,
know that's
like I
not
said, if
Arch's
anything,
call either.
this is good for Arch.
Because it's like you said, this is boosters, or do boosters get into Sarkeesian's head and be like, man, we really like what we've seen with Arch. We want to market this more. And that's when you hope that cooler heads prevail. Quinn Ewers has done nothing to lose that job in Texas,
Right.
but
I look at the success that program is having right now. I said, and it was with and without Ewers. So I think they're going to look at it like, listen, you're like, regardless, we're winning. And if they can ride that train of success all the way to the national championship and even win it, like, I don't think there's going to be any question about boosters. Like, people are going to love
Right.
Texas, and we're going to see a hell of a lot more people transferring, recruiting, this and that. So
Well,
from what you two guys have seen right now, seedings aside, if you were going to pick the 2 teams that you think right now would play for the national championship, who are the 2 teams that you would say from what we've seen so far through technically 5 weeks, but 4?
the battle of UT, Texas and Tennessee. Those are the 2 teams that have blown my mind the most.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Tennessee's honestly, they've lit it up every time they've played this year. Tennessee's literally given me no reason to think that they can't make it, and I'm 100% on board the Texas train right now. I think Texas is gonna ride this all momentum all the way. They're just too damn good of a team. What they did to Michigan was insane, considering how good of a program Michigan has been and is still currently. They drubbed them. It was a straight beating. It was not even close.
Right. No, I am inclined to agree with the Texas part. They look like the most complete team right now.
Oh, definitely.
And for me, I don't necessarily disagree with Tennessee. They look really, really dangerous. But I like what I see out of Ole Miss.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And so we're all 3 on the all SEC championship train. But we just have that. I just have a different second team. But man, that
That Ole Miss
I
team can be sneaky.
yeah, and I've always been one, the SEC bias that's been out there in the media in the past. Man, I'll say it. The SEC's really, really fucking good right now in football.
I
Um,
was about to say, I was like,
on I
they're
mean,
making it really hard to ignore.
to be honest with you guys, like if you were to just take conference affiliations out of it, if you were to really do a top five in no particular order, your top five should be Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Yep.
There
100%.
should be no Ohio State in there. That's just the whole like, well, we should probably slide a Big Ten team in there. Fuck no.
Well, they're doing it because number one, Ohio State's undefeated, and number two, it's because like you just alluded to, we need at least one non-SEC team in
I know, and then the thing is, that's your top five. You could argue Missouri could be six.
You really could argue that because aren't they like in the top 10?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
seventh, I believe.
Yeah.
See, there you go.
Missouri's biggest question so far was that game against Vandy, to where they damn near lost. But
I know, but the
I mean,
thing is,
great
look what
teams
Vandy's
still-
done this year.
Vandy has played fucking insane this year.
And they're
It's
like
so crazy because it's Vandy.
and they're supposed to be like one of the worst teams in the SEC, and they go beat Virginia Tech, who
Beat their asses.
like, and so when you look at the SEC, look, we just named 7 teams, right? That should be like, or the top six teams, right from the SEC that you could argue could be 1 through 6. We haven't even talked about Texas A&M, LSU, like
Louisville.
they're
Well,
ACC.
Louisville's not in. Yeah, they're ACC.
Yeah, but
Well,
Kentucky, a tough Kentucky team. South Carolina's been looking good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kentucky's played well.
Arkansas, Auburn, they've
Oh
not.
God, yeah.
I mean, and I know some people are like, you're stretching it. These teams aren't that great, but they haven't looked too bad. A lot of people thought South Carolina would struggle to win 5 games this year.
And here they are, what, 3-1?
3-1, damn near beat. Wasn't it? It was Georgia, wasn't it?
I think
That they
so.
took to the wire
I believe so.
I believe it was.
because game day was
And-
there.
And we all know
Yeah.
how like football in general works. It is truly a team sport, and all it takes is one of those teams you guys just listed off getting hot at the right time.
Oh,
they
yeah.
could flip the switch, and they could easily break into the top 5, top 12, whatever it may be.
And and these teams are going to have to play each other. Georgia and Bama is this week. Texas starts a tougher stretch here coming up. Ole Miss, Missouri, their schedules aren't as bad. That's why I picked them to be in the playoffs. So it's going to work itself out. But I tell you what, man, the SEC looks really, 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 really good.
Yeah, like I think the only team out of the SEC that truly looks like absolute dog shit is Mississippi State. They are so bad. Because it's like Mississippi State, you usually look at some of their games and you're like, okay, this might be one of those games to where they're going to put up a hell of a fight and they're just going to dog you all game long. And then next thing you know, it's like 45-0. It's like, what the fuck? What happened?
They just did not show up.
Sadly, Mississippi State has not recovered since the passing of Mike Leach.
No.
Because that was a program that had been kind of up and down. They were never great. And and Mike Leach had come in and had kind of started. He finally got his system installed and the kind of players he needed, and then unfortunately, passed away. And they haven't recovered at all. since then. And
No, because when you
now
come
they're
in
a
with a
bottom
game
dweller.
plan and an idea for what you guys are doing, and then something that tragic happens, kind of throws everything against the wall. Throws your whole entire team, your game plan,
Then they lose their
everything.
quarterback in the offseason in the transfer portal to Washington. You know, like, but, I don't want to take up all of our time talking college because, we do need to talk some NFL. So, we're 3 weeks into the NFL season, which, doesn't seem like much, but, we're about a quarter of the way through the NFL season. And there's, I think, been quite a few surprises so far. We can talk about the two-time champs and being 3-0 and how easily they could be 0-3.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
We could talk about Dakota's Bengals being 0-3 and how they very easily could be 3-0. My Detroit Lions are 2-1 and they very easily could be 0-3 or 3-0 or 1-2. It
I've
has
got
been wild.
I've got a top 12 of the 12 best teams in the NFL, and these are all by records. It's not based on stats or anything. And it literally goes from basically it lists off the undefeated teams, the
Bills,
the 5 undefeated teams that are left in the NFL: Seattle, Minnesota, the Bills, Kansas City, and Pittsburgh. Yep. And then it leads to it is 7 2-1 teams.
The Washington freaking Commanders.
Yep.
Right? Dude, I swear I only had them winning like 4 games this year.
Teams because I did not write them down. I didn't. That was a mistake.
Too painful.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not mad about that because I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent about my Bengals here because from what I've seen in these last 3 weeks, the first 3 weeks of the NFL season, it's not a testament to how bad we are as a team. It's just a testament to how bad our defense is. Because we're not getting stops. Our offense is perfectly fine. I don't think Burrow's thrown
outside of week 1.
Season. Like he might have
when
thrown
they just
a pick
turned
that
the ball
first,
over.
Yeah, I was gonna say he might have thrown a pick that first game, but since then he's barely gotten touched. The offensive line is actually holding up. I mean, I know we just lost Trent Brown to an injury. But I do think our defense is our weak link here, and it's showing because our offense cannot dig our team out of what our defense cannot hold. It's like our offense is putting in all this work just for our defense to basically fall flat. So, in all honesty, between now and the trade deadline, I do see a move being made. There ain't no way I see it because if you're the Bengals, you got T. Higgins is more than likely his last year on the fucking team, right? You're having a hard time negotiating contracts with two of your best players, Jamar Chase and Trey Hendrickson, and it doesn't sound like an extension for Hendrickson is coming anytime soon. With that being said, there's already kind of morale issues going on with that team, and they're hard to ignore. And I say that because I am a Bengals fan. But with that being said, there's nothing about what I'm seeing from this team that doesn't tell me we still cannot make the Super Bowl. Number one, the best team in our division is 3-0. The next best team is 1-2.
I know.
So, I mean, to me, the playoffs are not out of reach. And we've seen plenty of teams win from the wild card.
Oh yeah,
and so for me, all it is figuring it out. Our defensive struggles. I don't see our secondary really being a problem. I see us being able to apply pressure, like that being the problem. Like we can't get to the QB, we can't stop the run. So I see a change in edge rushers. I see maybe more additions, maybe some free agency pickups, something, anything. I see it happening because more NFL analysts have said it than not. It's probably a Super Bowl bust year for these Bengals. If they don't make it, at least to the AFC Championship, then I do not see this being this, like, looking at the same team next year.
Either
Well, if
way,
they
I
miss-
don't really see them having the same team next year, anyways. Because from what I've been hearing about the Jamar Chase situation, is I don't really see an extension coming for him either, because he demands to be paid as the highest paid receiver in the league, which, in all honesty, like, I don't see why not. But at the same time, I see why he shouldn't, because he's not the best receiver in the league. That guy's in Minnesota right now.
I was going to say,
Is where?
Actually,
Minnesota.
it's Nico Collins.
Okay, yeah. Okay. I thought
Currently
you said
in the
Arizona,
NFL.
and I was like, what?
No.
The NFL's leading receiver is not Justin Jefferson as we speak. It's actually Nico Collins.
Well, I get that.
I will say, he is in the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, Nico Collins, without a doubt, like, when it's time for Nico to get his payday, he's gonna get his fucking cash. It's
Well,
gonna
I'd
come
say
in
this
his
too.
But what I see
Sam Darnold's
happening-
throwing Justin Jefferson the ball, not CJ Stroud.
But what I see happening currently with the Jamar, I see the extension coming. Of course, not this season because the deadline is over with. I do see it happening in the offseason. But the biggest problem I see is replacing T. Higgins. Like, dude, like, we can draft so many fucking guys, but, like, T. Higgins in most offenses is a number one. In most offenses in the NFL, he's a number one receiver, if not a 2. You know, like, it's going to be hard to replace him. Like, Yoshi Vach, that young kid that we drafted last year, or it was an undrafted free agent, he's been playing pretty fucking stellar this year. So, I mean, it might not be too out of the question to get some help in terms of that. But I do not see, like, Jamar Chase. Like, I do not see that going without giving him his extension, because in most circles, and at least in my eyes, he's on the same level, if not, like, right underneath Justin Jefferson.
Well, because I've been hearing a lot of rumblings going around. I know they're just, like, deep reading right now, but I've been hearing a lot of word that Chase does not want to stay in Cincinnati.
And if
Like,
that
he
is the
loves-
case,
Like,
I
he
would like
loves-
him to, like, if that's the case, like, I want him to be, like, I want people to be more open. So if he doesn't want to be in Cincinnati, we can make a move now to fix what the fuck is wrong, or at least give T. Higgins the money that he won't fucking take. You know,
that's what I was going to say,
will
Dakota.
gladly take the extension, because
that's what I was going to say, Dakota.
I can see him getting about the same amount of money as Ayuk.
Yeah.
In terms of extension, and honestly, that's not going to break the bank like an extension for Chase will. So I will take that, and then replacing him either in free agency or in the draft with a higher draft pick. But
and Dakota, I was going to say that too, because, like, if that's true, that Chase doesn't want to be there, I don't think that's the case. I just think he wants paid more than Justin Jefferson. But if he does want out, he should say it so the Bengals can get T. Higgins the money to keep T. Higgins. But at the end of the day, like, Chase is going to get his money. He's going to stay. He wants to play with Burrow.
Yeah, that's why I'm
convinced
it's going to happen.
And the Bengals, you know, they're going to franchise T. Higgins again, and they're going to trade him, because that's what they need to do. They've got
because there's no way
get
that
something out of
trade
him
at the trade deadline for something more significant or something that's going to help us right then and there.
Yeah,
I don't see us anyway that we're going to just let T. Higgins walk. I mean, yes, we let Tyler Boyd walk, and God help me for saying this, but I think that was a bigger hit on our offense than us losing T. Higgins or Jamar Chase, because he was the vet. He was he was the vet to our offense. I felt like he was the glue that held it together, and with him in Tennessee, I mean, we have a glaring hole in our offense, and it's obvious. I mean, it's obvious to an extent, but because I think Gesicki is definitely taking up some of those receptions, and I'm not opposed to that because that dude can catch, and the dude can actually, like, the dude actually moves the ball down the field. So,
except for that one ball against the Chiefs that hit him in the chest, but
I mean, listen.
Sorry.
I mean, shit.
I
You know,
hate
I've
the
seen
Chiefs,
plenty of drop passes from some top tier guys. I mean, it's not it's not out of the question. And on top of that, it's just those games, those Chiefs games are always like so high intensity. So I can understand, like, even if it is like mid game, end game, whatever, like just the fucking jitters of those games, those big game moments. I can understand. Like,
I wanted to talk about a different AFC team.
Okay.
And then have it also talk about some of the things we've talked about earlier with quarterback contracts and paying quarterbacks too much money that aren't really that good, and talk about the dumpster fire in Jacksonville.
Yep.
That,
like, what the hell is going on there?
Bad franchise. Bad franchise. Period. I do think Trevor Lawrence is as good as advertised. Maybe not as good as his contract says.
I don't
think he is either.
Listen. I watched this thing. They lined up his career side by side with that of Daniel Jones. And listen, I'm a Trevor Lawrence guy. Okay, I'm also a Kenny Pickett guy. So if that tells you anything,
you have shitty taste in quarterbacks.
Mayfield guy.
Right?
So I've learned as a fan of football to give these guys another chance. Like, we've seen it with Geno Smith, we've seen it with Sam Darnold most recently. Geno Smith is the top three in passing yards this year. Like, and Seattle's undefeated right now. So Seattle's winning games. I mean, it's not out of the realm of question that in some capacity Trevor Lawrence can turn his fortunes around.
Honestly, I don't think he can. I think he is cooked.
I don't agree. I don't disagree with you on second chances, and
I don't think he's cooked. I do think Daniel Jones is cooked because he's been in that pressure cooker of a New York Giants offense for way too fucking long. If he would have escaped before he signed that big extension, I feel like there would have been a chance for Daniel Jones. But now that we're talking about Trevor Lawrence, I'm not going to be like, yeah, it's Jacksonville, because we've seen them win, right? We've seen them do good. We've seen them do great, especially in terms of regular season. We've seen Blake Bortles have some of the best years as a Jaguars QB. But that does not mean that this is the team clear cut and dry for them. So if I'm looking at a team like the Giants, or a team like maybe a team whose QBs maybe like contracts about to expire or something, somebody is going to end up taking a chance on Trevor Lawrence if this really is his last maybe hurrah in Jacksonville.
So by no means, okay, so Daniel Jones is a different beast.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Under no circumstances was Daniel Jones a first-round draft pick for 31 other franchises, okay?
No.
God, no. Dave Gettleman.
Still, dude, he's probably not a backup on most.
Dave Gettleman, he fumbled that. Trevor Lawrence was the clear-cut number one pick in his draft, and I'm not going to dispute that. Always, I did question his ability. Is Jacksonville a bad franchise? I don't think so anymore. I think Shad Khan is a good owner committed to winning in Jacksonville. The Trevor Lawrence situation comes down to me anyway of they pay quarterbacks too much damn money. So
yes,
Trevor Lawrence comes in as a rookie, struggles with the Urban Meyer debacle of a season, comes into year two with Doug Peterson, who I will say overrated head coach. and I'll
Yeah,
touch on
he
that.
got lucky with that team. Honestly, Carson Wentz
So-
led that team 90% of the way. It was just Nick Foles being there to kind of take it where it needed to go.
Finish it off.
Yes.
So I think Doug Peterson comes into situations and helps make them better, but isn't a good enough coach to actually sustain it. And the track record shows that is accurate.
Mhm.
But Trevor Lawrence comes in years 2, has a better season, gets the Jags into the playoffs, not because I think the Jags are good, but because their division sucks.
Yeah.
Goes to the playoffs. They get a surprise win, almost knock Kansas City out. Everybody comes into year 3 super excited for Jacksonville football. They start off well and then completely diarrhea themselves to end the year. By the way, Jacksonville 0-8 in the last 8 starts of Trevor Lawrence. Just saying.
So, with
Shits
that being
himself,
said,
misses the playoffs, right? And people are like, they're going to bounce back. Because Lawrence is the guy, he gets the big extension because he's, going to have that 5th-year option trigger. And you go, what's happened in Jacksonville from year 2 to now? They've had to lose talent. Why? Because they can't pay him, because they had to pay Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence's skills, in my opinion, are not good enough to justify what he is being paid and the talent that they had to sacrifice to pay him. They pretty much had to deplete their secondary in a complete year because of it. With one of the Griffin twins, he was one of the cornerbacks, right? Got a contract, they had to cut him. And so I look at Trevor Lawrence and I go, could Trevor Lawrence be a starting quarterback in the NFL? Sure. He's got a skill set. Is he the superstar quarterback they make him out to be?
no.
Absolutely not. Even in his good season, he did
was
not
not that great. He
justify
wasn't that great.
being a top 10 quarterback. And that's the problem in the NFL is they are paying guys to be top 10 quarterbacks off of potential,
But not
and
off
then
of
they
actual skill.
crap the bed,
Mhm.
I will
and they have to
say,
sacrifice talent for it.
I will say this, and I only say it like this because I'm thinking, like, in my head, like, when I looked at the Trevor Lawrence, Daniel Jones side by side, I think, like, I want to immediately blame the system. I want to blame everything that's going on in Jacksonville. I mean, and who the fuck knows? Because we haven't seen shit. Like, there's been no reports of nothing going on in terms of turmoil or
Right.
dishappiness in terms of the team. When I seen that graphic that basically dissected what was the almost uncanny parallels in the Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence's career at this point, I think it's pretty insane. I just think, like, because fuck, man, like, how do you pay Daniel Jones that much money? I think the Jacksonville Jaguars paid. Like, listen, I love me some Kenny. I love me some Kenny Pickett. I love me some fucking, those guys that don't deserve the money that got them.
Well, let's play a really quick game here. I am looking without you guys cheating and looking it up and shit.
Hey,
I
I
am
can't.
looking
I'm
at.
driving it on a phone, so.
Well, I am currently looking at the list of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL in order of what they're getting paid at.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you? Or first, I will ask.
I mean,
I'll ask
I
you,
can
Steve.
pretty much tell you.
Who do you think is the top 5?
Well, Jordan Love is number 1. We're going like per year, right? Because he just signed the biggest per
Yes.
year. So the top 5 in no particular order is Jordan Love, Jared Goff, Tua Tagovailoa, Dak Prescott, and Trevor Lawrence.
Close.
Okay.
What about you, Dakota?
My top three are Love, Goff, and Tua. Trev Lawrence is up there.
Oh, Dak probably doesn't kick in yet, does it?
The top 5 in order goes Dak, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, and Tua. Jared Goff is 6th.
He fell out because Burrow, I guess, money.
Okay,
Yep,
but
Or
that being
going back.
said, there's maybe one QB in that, maybe like one. Maybe in the long term, in the long run, I might be looking at one or two of them, maybe three of them
So
that
so
don't
here's fun.
fucking deserve the money, and that's
So
Dak
that's
and
that's
Trevor
the
Lawrence.
so that's the top 5.
Yes.
Who should the top 5 be? You know, that's the big question, right? So that's the top 5, and we know that shouldn't be the top 5. But if you
Mhm.
were to pay top 5 quarterback money to the top 5 quarterbacks, who are you paying?
I would keep Love and Burrow up there. In all honesty, I'm
Yeah.
keeping those guys there because everything I've seen from Love is 100%. Like that's the money. Like that's
He's had
why you
1
pay
year.
QBs. 100% though. He came out
Well,
that first game, like even though he got hurt at the end of it, he came out that first game and played just as well as he did the whole season before. So I don't expect anything different from Jordan Love. I expect that play from Jordan Love consistently. You know, because that was the question coming into that first game. I mean, yes, he did get hurt, and yes, we haven't seen him play, but I did get an update when we started our little podcast here, and it did say he was that he was more questionable. He was upgraded to questionable to play for this upcoming week. Now, I think that's a good idea with the win that Malik Willis just reeled off, and it's in. We talked about it in text, Corey. Malik Willis has played a competent game for a QB. I don't believe they should rush him back because that is your most skilled position. And you did just pay that man that much money. He's one of those people that Jordan Love is for sure a player I do believe deserves the top 5 QB pay. As much as I hate to say it, the one player that I fucking don't want to say it about is Patrick Mahomes, but he deserves it. And I'd be a fucking idiot not to not to argue that. A questionable one that people might question Jalen Hurts, and I say that because whether or not they actually won that Super Bowl against the Chiefs, and whether or not they've done well since then, the thing for me is winning and its consistency. That Eagles team has been consistent since he's been their starter, and Josh Allen. I'm having a hard time thinking of anybody else.
yeah, for me, before I go on, my Jordan Love, Malik Willis rant here, for me, my top 5 would be, without a doubt, number 1, you got to go Patty Mahomes because dude has done nothing but win and
Yeah, you can't argue that.
consistently win and play pretty well. And I know he's turned the ball over a lot with interceptions and stuff by, with some really stupid passes. But how many other quarterbacks in the NFL history have we seen do that and win Super Bowls doing it? I mean, Brett Favre did it. So many other quarterbacks in NFL history have played that gunslinger style and just dominate. And that's what Patrick Mahomes is bringing to the table here with being a true gunslinger again. Just zero fucks. Somebody's open down there. I'm going to throw it and hope someone catches it. And 9 times out of 10, it works. So Pat, I think, should be number 1, but he's down here on the list at 13th.
My bad.
Well-
I'm sorry to interrupt real quick here. I'm not sure if I did mention a 5th name, but if I didn't, my 5th would be Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy is like 40th in this list.
I'm sure
So-
he fucking is.
He's still on
So-
his rookie contract. So
Yeah,
that
I was
makes
gonna say he's still on his rookie contract, but that man, the way
So,
he
I
plays,
mean,
it's hard to
there's-
fucking argue it.
there's stats, right? There's QBR and passing yards and touchdowns, but then there's quarterback play and going. These are the top 5 quarterbacks that I would pay top 5 quarterback money to this year, and that doesn't mean that they're going to be, top 5 in passing yards or you name it. And
Mhm.
so, like, if you want to go Purdy, you go Purdy, but
Well, I did mention Hurts, so I mean, if
Yeah.
I'm doing that, he would be the 6th. So, I mean,
so
those two are interchangeable for me. So, I mean, no arguments there. I think when you're looking for if you're the owner of a fucking franchise, you're looking for consistency. You're looking for players who can win and have that track record. So that's basically that's what I've built my list off of, more or less. Outside of Burrow, I mean Burrow. I'm a Bengals fan, so I mean
he's been to a Super Bowl. I mean,
yeah,
he's been
Matt
to a
Ryan's
Super Bowl.
been to a fucking Super Bowl.
That matters the most in the NFL these days.
Yes,
He
does.
he arguably had the greatest collegiate football season in history at quarterback at LSU.
Yeah.
So sorry,
And
Corey.
he is
to
a former
interrupt.
Heisman, so and it wasn't that far removed. So
So sorry, Corey, to interrupt your list, but for me, I mean, I agree. You got Pat Mahomes, right?
Mhm.
I hate the guy. I hate the Chiefs, but he makes the throws that he needs to make. When he needs to throw for 450 yards and 5 touchdowns, he does it. When he needs to throw for 205 and 2 touchdowns, that's what he does. He understands what he needs to do to win the game. So yeah, Pat Mahomes in there. Josh Allen is a top 5 quarterback. Joe Burrow is a top 5 quarterback. I think you look at the Bengals and you look at how that Bengals team is with Joe Burrow and without Joe Burrow, regardless of Jamar Chase being there. You can see the difference there, right?
I can make an
Yeah.
argument for my guy Jake Browning from last season because goddamn did he play lights out. That was like, listen,
Dude, he
like,
did as
could've-
best as he possibly could.
He
he
really
damn near
fucking
got the
could.
Bengals
Like,
into the
that-
playoffs
That
playing.
dude witnessed
Oh, yeah.
the wheels fall off, and he cranked out wins he should not have cranked out.
And so for me, the next 2 going to be a little bit more controversial, but I'm talking top 5 quarterbacks, guys that I would want out there paying top 5 money
Yeah,
to make
that's what
throws
this list is about.
and
So
win me football games. And I'm going Matthew Stafford and Aaron Rodgers. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
okay.
I am.
No,
you
yeah.
are not getting me Jordan Love with 1 year body of work. I do not want Brock Purdy.
I can
I
understand.
have seen Brock Purdy without weapons around him now. It is very
It's
clear
pretty, yeah.
they're going to be screwed when they pay Brock Purdy money. Those are the 5 guys where if I'm on the field and I need a drive and I need top 5 quarterback money, those are the 5 guys to me. And I think you see with Rodgers being healthy this year and getting that first game rust of being gone a full year off of him when they played the 49ers
It felt refreshing,
coming
honestly,
back-
to see Rodgers back out there and play as well
and
as
coming
he did.
into his own. I know the guy's 41 years old, but shit,
didn't look
he's still
like
one
it.
of the best quarterbacks in the league.
He most certainly did not fucking look like it. That man looked like he was a spruce fucking 30.
And
and that's
and-
great for a QB. Like,
and Stafford has literally nothing around him now. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nakua, their whole offensive line. I mean, but we all know we look at that Super Bowl. Look at the throws Matt Stafford made in the Super
Mhm.
Bowl
yeah,
and go, tell me that's not a top 5 quarterback because there's nothing to say differently right now.
No,
He's
no, there's
healthy
not.
again like he was last year. So when you look at 2 of his last 3 years when he was healthy, he was a hell of a quarterback. And the funny thing is with Corey, and I could probably pick your list, right? Pat Mahomes, you're probably going Burrow, you're probably going to go with Jordan Love, and you're probably going to go like CJ Stroud and Sam Darnold right now. I had to throw Sam Darnold down there.
That would be a hell of a list. Honestly, fuck yeah, pay Darnold with money, man. 'Cause,
No,
like,
like,
Listen, if it ain't broke, don't fucking fix it. If this season goes stellar for them Vikings, tell me that man does not deserve the money. A competent QB and an offense that needs a competent QB. That man's been around long enough to figure it out, and I think he has.
But the thing is, most of these guys we're talking about aren't making top 5 money.
No,
Right.
That's the problem. That's the
No.
problem in the NFL right now.
100%.
is-
Because Stafford
who do
and
you
Rodgers
think-
aren't even top 10.
No,
Because
they're
Stafford
not.
is 15th and Rodgers is 17th.
Now,
and we're
I
all
want to know.
agreeing. We're all agreeing on Mahomes and Allen, not top 5.
Now, I
Nope.
want to
Not
know
top
what
5 money.
QBs, what one QB do you think is grossly overpaid? Grossly overpaid and does not deserve the
Dak
money?
Prescott
Dak and Trevor Lawrence.
Lamar
and
Jackson.
Tua.
and Tua.
I
Yeah.
think Lamar
Lamar looks
Jackson
like a-
does not deserve it because
Lamar looks like a discount at this point, though.
Yep.
Well, yeah, at this point, yeah, because when he got his extension, I mean, yeah, he got it at the. I guess he got it at a good time. I mean, I guess
Lamar, what's
the
Lamar's
Ravens did
salary
that
right
like
now? Corey ranked. Is
Lamar
it
is
like 9
at
through 10?
52 mil a year.
Where's
260
that-
million total.
What's his
Where's that
ranking
put
in
him?
terms of?
Say what?
What's his ranking in terms
Where's
of?
that
like,
put him? Is he like 8th
Yep, he is
for how much
8th,
he makes per
just
year?
behind
I
Justin
would
Herbert.
because to me right now, like yo, dude, like you got these MVPs, you got the Ravens, you had the Ravens cooking, dude. Listen, and like I don't want to hear people like, oh, like what about this year? Like, no, they're gonna do better this year with Derrick Henry. Yeah, don't let Derrick Henry bail his ass out because like all these years, all these MVPs, he ain't got shit to show for it. Not a damn thing. Patrick
Okay,
Mahomes
real
does.
quick.
Mahomes does.
Okay, real quick, just to get my list out there real quick before we break down on, or before we start talking about, these quarterbacks that should be getting paid enough and definitely are getting way overpaid. I pretty much 100% agree with your list, Steve. Like I would have taken Rodgers, Allen, Stafford, Burrow, and honorable mention for me, I would put Jared Goff in there because
Yeah.
I know the Rams grossly undervalued him and thought that he was the major issue with
But
that
what-
team. But
but
look
what
what
the
he's
Rams
done
didn't
since they
find in
kicked him
value.
out.
Yeah.
Even that first season where the Lions looked kind of shitty. Like even that first season where the Lions looked pretty shitty, he played damn good football. And all they've done is build around him, and that offense is getting scarier and scarier and scarier. So I 100%
Looking a
believe
little sluggish this year,
Jared
but
Goff belongs up here near the tier top 5.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this here
So,
because
we're.
you're good. You're good.
I was going to say Goff is 6th, right?
Yep,
I have Goff in that 7 to 8 range. I
Yeah.
think Goff
He
in terms of
deserves
where
top 10
he's
money.
at is probably appropriate.
I completely agree because
I say this because
he's
you can
getting
put him
his
in
money,
any
but he's
offense.
not getting overpaid to where they can't build around him and make that team better.
You can put him in almost any offense that has a couple solid receivers and like the Dolphins. Like if you would have put him in that fucking offense, like a man who can actually throw the fucking football, you got Tyreek Hill and Waddle. Like that would be fucking terrifying. That would easily be the scariest offense in football. Like I'm bar none. Goff is grossly undervalued. He's just underrated. People don't show him no love. Goff does deserve top 10 money.
And I 100% thought that too when he was still with the Rams because I'm like, dude, like, who the fuck is he throwing the ball to? He's got nobody.
Well, and the thing was too, people remember that Super Bowl against the Patriots and Goff, and they look at that as what he was like. Dude, remember that Chiefs game they had that year when it was like 50-something to 40-something?
Dude, that was the game of the century.
The Goff lit the scoreboard up that year.
Yeah. He did it.
People only remember that Super Bowl.
People forget how much of a terror he was playing that whole fucking season. He was literally one of the hottest QBs in the whole NFL, period.
He was arguably the best quarterback aside from Pat Mahomes.
If he wasn't already. Like, There was maybe one other QB that was playing pretty fucking close, and his name was Wentz. Wentz was playing pretty fucking lights out throughout that time, and it showed when the Eagles didn't they go to the Super Bowl the year after?
The year after, yeah.
Yeah. See, and that lines up, and I think it is a travesty that Wentz's career fizzled out the way it did, but understanding that dude ended up getting bounced around a little too much for my liking.
You know, as somebody who's had knee injuries, and I know everybody expects professional athletes to just bounce back, right?
It can
It's
be
just
hard.
not the case, you know. It's just not the case. And he tore that ACL late that season. And I think Philly probably rushed him back a little bit into the year.
Yeah.
And when you
That's
do that,
crazy because when you look at his real final year as a starter, which was Fuller Colts, that dude played fucking lights out. 23 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That's a lot fucking better than most of the players in the league that year. QBs in the league that year. And I just thought it was a fucking travesty that he went from doing that to not even getting a fucking chance to start. And
yeah, because
people literally gave the fuck up on him. And I'm like, dude, he literally just showed you he still had it. He still has it. He can still fucking play. If you build an offensive line, you put him behind a solid fucking offensive line where he won't be touched, and you give him competent receivers who can get down the field and get open, chances are Wentz could probably still be a top 20 QB in the NFL.
Yeah, and I think part of his problem was, when he was rebounding, coming back that year with the Eagles and when he was with the Colts, is so much of his game was built around his mobility.
Yeah.
That I don't think the Colts were expecting a quarterback who was no longer as mobile as he was. But the thing was, we weren't looking at an RG3 situation where he loses mobility and now he's just complete garbage.
Yeah.
He was still a good passer, but they didn't have a team built around him for that. They were still expecting mobility.
They were expecting him to still run around the field and throw himself open.
And I think he is a guy that is getting the Sam Darnold treatment from last year, this year. Right? Sam Darnold goes to, the 49ers and they're basically like, you're a backup, man. And that's all you are. And you're going to sit here and you're going to learn.
Well, as I say, Wentz is on the Rams right now, isn't he?
No.
Is he even on a team?
He's on the Chiefs.
Oh, shit. He's on the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Yeah. He is. So he is sitting there learning from Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. And he is going to get that Sam Darnold treatment where he's probably going to be able to go to a team next year that's drafting a rookie quarterback like Sam Darnold.
And he's going to get the start just naturally based off being a veteran in the league.
Yep. Because they're going to maybe be that team that's drafting Jackson Dart from Ole Miss who they don't want to play yet.
I like the road you're going on, and I'd like to make a prediction here because there's one spot that I think is fucking prime for it. Now this is all based off of how this season goes with Minshew, of course, and that is Las Vegas. They have an offense in place, and it's pretty fucking solid. The only thing that they're missing is a true number one star QB and maybe a top running back, and that would be that's a scary fucking offense. Honestly, Wentz would be ideal for that. Especially if you need a pocket passer or somebody who can just work with what he got. If Dalton's doing some shit in Carolina, who says Wentz can't do shit in Las Vegas?
Yeah, Vegas is a team he could end up. Vegas is probably going to be a team that's going to draft a quarterback that probably shouldn't play right away.
Because I see Minnesota being giving Darnold an extension. In what I see being something that's more helpful to JJ McCarthy than it isn't, because if you got Darnold
if he keeps playing like this, absolutely.
You just let that man sit and let him learn.
Yeah,
you let him mind fuck that fucking playbook you let him burn it into his brain. You let him never forget it, because you let Darnold play out until he shows like any sign of like slowing down or like really like, you know. I just think right now Darnold knows he's got a starting spot, and Darnold is just fucking playing, dude. Like I think he's playing with like no fucking caution at all, and it's beautiful to see because this man's like putting together an offense that should be like, it should take like true skill and like from a QB standpoint, and Darnold's showing all the skill that I thought the motherfucker had to begin with. And I think this is 100% a testament to how trash the Jets were on their rookie QBs. Because look at Geno, look at Darnold. I mean, Zach Wilson is a different story, but look at Darnold and look at Geno Smith, man. Like if you can get a second chance if those guys can get a second chance like these, like, come on, man.
So I think there's two other places I think you could look for, other than Vegas, for a Carson Wentz situation. You just named one of them. I think Seattle is a team that, if they were to move away from Geno, because there's been some rumblings there. Now Geno's come back this year, looking really
Pretty
strong. We'll see. We'll see if he holds it up.
Now I will note that Howell did get traded to Seattle.
Yep.
So maybe they're looking at him as their next guy up, but no, I see what you're saying.
But yeah, Geno started out well last year too, and then struggled at the end.
Yeah.
If that happens again, I think Carson Wentz could be there, an option. But I think a dark horse team that nobody's thinking about that might be in that quarterback market via free agency or draft or both, especially if you go with the Minnesota situation, the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, shit, yeah. Look what Flacco did with that team last year. And look what fucking Watson isn't doing.
And you're looking at, and everybody likes to talk about Watson's fully guaranteed contract, but that legal trouble with Watson, there's a lot of rumblings that Cleveland's looking to get out of that contract without having to pay him. And if they can, you're looking at a team that's,
like,
probably going to
right now
try to reset themselves exactly and go, let's bring in a veteran guy to plug in for a year or two while we draft a guy. Because,
they're my question. Is Flacco still contracted through the Browns?
No, he's a free agent.
If I'm the Browns, I'm giving Flacco that call.
And I don't know about that one. I think he's done. I think he's a little old and beat up to come back.
I think
Cleveland, fuck, man, because we've seen crazier, and honestly, until I fully see fucking Flacco announce it himself, I don't think he's done. And I say that because what if one of these contenders, these like up teams, I'm just gonna throw a random fucking team out there, right? One of these teams are just up there, just fucking smacking ass, just doing fucking great. Like, we'll just throw it out there. Houston, the Texans just come out of fucking nowhere. Just fucking Stroud goes down, and literally they just need a competent enough QB to play them through the playoffs. What if they fucking does that, comes back and wins a fucking Super Bowl?
Well, but the problem with that, Houston set that offense up around CJ Stroud with his mobility. And I know CJ Stroud is a much better pocket passer than what we've seen most quarterbacks out of Ohio State. But with CJ Stroud, that offense is built around his mobility. So that, because he's got a lot of speed
you're right.
on the ends there, to where once he gets outside that pocket, they've got the awareness to know, hey, I got to get myself open for this guy. Flacco ain't got that mobility. He's too old and dealt with too many pretty bad injuries to be able to get mobile.
Yeah.
If anything like that happens,
give fucking Phillip Rivers a call.
Like for me,
He's
I
busy having his 12th child.
right.
Probably some way, this motherfucker.
Like for
No,
me, I
honestly,
think one thing that could really easily help out, especially with the Browns, because we all know that the Browns are going to try as hard as they possibly can to get out of this contract with Watson at the end of this season. I wholeheartedly bet the Browns are going to go after Malik Willis because one, he's going to be cheap.
yes.
He's learning behind the Packers and
And he's
Jordan
showing,
Love.
and he's showing competency as a
Um,
QB that he didn't show in Tennessee.
So hold up there, though.
But now, if you're thinking
Malik
that,
Willis would still be under contract with Green Bay, I believe.
yeah, because he's still on his rookie scale.
'Cause
He's got like one
he-
or two more years left.
I think he's got, because this is his third year,
He's
and I
got
think
one
he
more,
had a
1 year.
I think he had a 4-year deal, and you
Yeah, he
traded
got
for
1
him.
year. So with that being
But I could
said,
easily see the Packers trade for him for, a third, fourth, or fifth round pick.
there are a few options for Cleveland, and these are more on the younger side, and I'm going to say they're more reclamation projects than they are like full blown starters. They're just guys that maybe you can inject into the starting lineup once you get out of that contract, right? And maybe to see what these guys can do less than this is our guy, this is and these are moves that you can make that maybe if it doesn't work out, that maybe we're looking at a Browns tanking, and maybe they're looking at getting an Arch Manning or something, down the line. So I'm thinking maybe along the lines of a Ritter or a Pickett or somebody like a Zach Wilson, maybe guys that are definitely on the downslope that aren't going to get that second chance, or maybe they get ballsy and do trade for a Trevor Lawrence, shit like that.
Oh, so I think Cleveland, I think they're looking at this team right now going,
what can we do?
We should win, but they're probably not going to win.
No.
It doesn't look great for them how they've played so far.
Do you
And I
tank
think
now?
they're looking
Do you
at this.
call it good?
I don't even think they're necessarily tanking. Like I
Do you
think
just think they're that bad with Deshaun Watson in the starting lineup?
Yeah, I think organizationally, I think they're looking at their team and they're going,
There's
we
a
made
player.
We made a
that I
mistake
think
with
could fix
Deshaun
their
Watson.
offense.
They're going, well, I mean, that player is on their roster. He's just hurt. Nick Chubb.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
But I think organizationally, they're looking at this roster and they're going, we made a mistake with Deshaun Watson. And Nick Chubb shouldn't be like Nick Chubb going down shouldn't have impacted this team in the way that it did. Because if Deshaun Watson was worth the money and as good of a quarterback as he was in Houston before his knee injury, they should be fine, but they're not. And I think organizationally, they just want to get through this season. And I think if they can get off of Watson's contract, I think they're going to wholesale clean house. I think then Watson's gone. I think they'll fire Stefanski. And I think they'll look at that roster and go, what can we do with this roster? Where are we picking in the draft? Can we get one of the top 5 guys? And do we want to bring in a veteran for that guy to sit for a year while we put pieces around that rookie to develop? And I think that is what they're going to do organizationally if their first 3 games play out the rest of the season and they go 6-11. I think this team is then picking in the top 10 of the draft, and they're going to be looking at how to get a quarterback, and they have trade pieces on that team that they could trade to move up to get whoever they probably want. The question is, would they do it? And I think, you call me crazy, but if you were going to start rebuilding your franchise because you screwed up with Watson And, there's no saying Nick Chubb comes back at all resembling his old self. With
That's
that
true.
knee
And
injury.
he's like 28, 29 now. If
Something
not
like
broke his
that.
30. Broke
That's
his
getting
30
pretty
30
ancient for a
season,
running
so.
back these days.
I know.
Yeah.
So,
Well, unless your name's Derrick Henry.
Right? But do you go to a team? So let's say you're Cleveland and you're like, Quinn Ewers is our guy. That's who we want. Do you go to Carolina? Do you go to a Carolina or a New England? And Carolina would be a very interesting one and go, Carolina, we'll give you this year's first and a second round pick and Myles Garrett. And go get your guy at quarterback. Carolina would say yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I
because
get an
you're
extra
immediately
draft pick.
upgrading the defense. You're giving Andy Dalton even more of a chance to improve the play on that team.
Yep, you get an extra
there's
draft
no
pick, a
fucking
better.
way in hell that Carolina says no.
And people would tell me, oh, there's no way Cleveland would do it. But if you are truly evaluating your franchise and going, we're gonna suck next year too, and hope to be better in the next year, Myles Garrett does not fit on that team.
No, he doesn't. He's a veteran. He's probably looking more at winning now than he is anything. He's gotten paid, He's gotten all the money that he could possibly ask for. Now, for him, it's probably more important for him to win than it is in anything. And honestly, like I touched on this earlier when I was talking about Cincinnati. If I'm Cincinnati, I'm dumping draft picks, all of like my first and second, to get my hands on Myles Garrett. Because that's a fix your team now move.
Yeah, but are you willing to completely shit on your 100% future to potentially fix what might happen now, and you still end up losing to Pat Mahomes, and then you're fucked regardless?
Well, this is the only. This is what I'm basing what I just said off of, and it's based off the way we've drafted the last couple of seasons. To me, like we've built better through free agency than we have through the draft. I mean, that's not including Burrow, and that's not including Higgins, Burrow, or Chase, because since then, there's not very many people on that team that I can sit here and be like, yeah, that player stands out the most. Most of them are players that we signed through free agency. Hendrickson was not an original draft pick of the Bengals, Like, that was not a guy we drafted. Hubbard has been on the team forever. I don't think that's a guy that we drafted either. So, I mean, there are quite a few players on that team that are, like, drafted players. But honestly, if that means that it pushes us that closer to the Super Bowl, I mean, if we know it's for the fucking team, it's for the betterment of our franchise, and I'm sure, like, we know it's Higgins probably last year for the team. He even said it himself. It's probably the last ride for this team overall. Like, we had talked about it. Like, it's probably not going to look the same next year. And that could be on any level, Like, the one thing I don't see changing is Burrow and Jamar Chase. I don't see a whole lot changing in terms of the offense. I do see us adding players. Maybe not this current season or current whatever, but like next season after Higgins is gone, after this season's played out. But I'm looking at win now moves that could help the franchise, and that's the only reason why. That's what I built my assessment off of. But I do agree with Steve. Like, a move like that for Carolina would be a game changer. They got a QB that clearly can run the offense competently, that just absolutely destroyed Bryce Young's trade value. Because, like, how do you
they
explain,
had to hate
how
that.
the fuck do you explain that, dude?
I mean, I saw a video that a content creator made. He's like an NFL content creator guy, and he was making fun of that whole situation, and he was kind of pretending to be like the entire Carolina organization, and they're like, "Hey, here we are. We bringing in a new quarterback.
Who was it? Who was it? Say the name.
I can't remember his name, but it's some white dude, and he looks kind of goofy.
Because I watch an
Oh
NFL
yeah, I
content
know.
creator
I've seen his stuff. Yeah.
who is a massive Packer fan, and he is amazing and hilarious. So
I was gonna say he
Tom
does all the
Grossi.
NFL teams, and honestly, I think like his
Or
opinion.
are you talking about
Tom Grossi.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't remember who this guy is.
He is hilarious and amazing. I love Tom Grossi.
Maybe it is
The NFL fan of the year, by the way.
No, it's not him.
Okay. But you should watch Tom Grossi's stuff, Corey. You'd love it as a Packer
Oh, I
fan.
will. I will. But anyways, like this guy's video, he comes in and he's like the owner of the Panthers, and he's like, "All right, here we go. Got ourselves a new coach. All right, how about you figure out what needs to be done?" And then now he's playing like the head coach, and he's like, "All right, we're benching him," and then looks right at fuck, god damn it, we're just talking about him, and now I just drawn a
Andy
blank on his
Dalton.
name. No.
Bryce Young?
Yeah, thank you. Looks right at Bryce Young, and he's like, "Yep, we're benching him." And he's like, "What? For what?" And then, he's back to being the owner again. He's like, "Dude, it took you 2 weeks to bench him?" And he's like, "Yeah, it took me literally like a game and a half to figure out that he's fucking trash. So we're gonna put Andy Dalton in. He sucks. Kick him out." And then playing Bryce Young, he's like, "But dude, what about my career?" And he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it, because you're gonna be like everybody else, and you're gonna be like Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, and you're gonna probably go play in Tennessee and light it up here in a couple of years." And he's like, "Hell yeah, Tennessee, here I come."
Yeah,
It's like,
I watched
dude,
that.
that's 100% how the Panthers seem right now, because like, how is it that they've had so many of these quarterbacks that are out there lighting it up, but yet they were trash in Carolina? And it just really makes me wonder, like, is the organization that bad, or were the quarterbacks just that bad? Because we thought the whole same thing with Bryce Young, and then Andy Dalton goes on there and torches the shit out of the Raiders. And they look like a Super Bowl team again, and it's like, what the hell?
I think that's a testament to how good Andy Dalton is or was. Because, listen, man, Andy Dalton, during his tenure on the Bengals as a starting QB, was the most slept-on QB, period, in the NFL. He consistently was in the top 10 for passing yards and never got talked about in terms of how consistent he was with not turning the ball over. So, to me, personally, because I've seen this Andy Dalton. I know this Andy Dalton. AJ Green knows this Andy Dalton. I'm just glad to see that
we all know
Carolina
Andy Dalton can play well,
gave
but it's
that
like,
man a chance. I just think it's proof that I just think it shows how much better of a QB like he is than Young.
I think Corey, it's a testament to a couple things. I think it's a testament to show just how much NFL quarterbacks rely on talent being around them, especially when they're young. And I think it also is showing just how much pressure NFL franchises are putting on these young quarterbacks to come into the NFL and immediately succeed.
Because I bet when Andy Dalton started that game, he got zero pressure from the head coaches or nothing.
Right.
He's like, I'll just fucking go out there and play, whatever. Like, everybody's looking at him right now like he's a backup.
They're already expecting us to get lit up, so
yeah, go out there and play, throw the fucking ball around.
I think it's
Andy
a testament.
I think sitting there thinking, like, you're gonna give me this fucking offense, like these good of players, that Bryce Young couldn't figure it the fuck out with. Like, what if Andy Dalton just fucking figures it out like he sort of kind of did in New Orleans before they traded for Derek Carr?
Yeah, I look at it and go, I think it's a testament to both of those things, and I also think it just shows how college football does not prepare quarterbacks to succeed in the NFL
Zero
anymore.
preparation.
It's a lot about for the most part, a lot of these programs are about read 1-2 and then run. And so you're seeing quarterbacks coming out of less pro style type offenses than you did in years past. And then when you talk about, like, you got to remember, guys used to get drafted and it was expected they were sitting for like 3 years.
Yeah,
And
that's
so when
insane.
you,
That most QBs don't even sit for a year. They get played halfway through their first season.
if not game one,
Yeah,
so when you take all that into consideration, that's really the problem, is all of
absolutely.
the above. Quarterbacks need talent around them, and some franchises just suck at doing it, or they can't afford it because of what they're paying other guys. And college isn't preparing these guys to be able to succeed.
Right.
About all they set them up for is the ability to be able to go out there and get the dog shit kicked out of them every single night, but not
Right.
respond in any capacity, which is the worst part about it. Because when we think about recent college QBs that have been like really great, Kenny Pickett is on that list. Zach Wilson was pretty fucking solid in college. Desmond
Zach
Ridder,
Wilson was a beast at BYU.
that's my point. Like oh my god. And the crazy to think is that like Zach Wilson got traded after his second season on the Jets. No, third. This was going into his third season. So like that first season that he was on the Jets, he started. And they signed Aaron Rodgers. He expected to not start. And then he gets played halfway through the fucking season. So if they were to have made that move, or a move similar where like they could have gotten their hands on a Cousins, I'll put money that we're not talking about Zach Wilson in the same fucking vein that we're talking about him today. He would have had an opportunity in some capacity to develop, learn the playbook. He wouldn't have had to like fucking throw his hands in the air like I don't know what I'm fucking doing. Like it wasn't.
I
like
think a lot of it.
Like
I think a lot of that too.
And got shit on immediately. Like,
well, I think a lot of that too has to do with an organization's coaching staff too. Because if you look at some of these teams, like their coaching staffs like aren't bad,
but they're not great either. I don't think the Jets' current coaching staff is great either. Robert Saleh hasn't fucking proven shit since he got to New York, and he was supposed to be the next coaching great. When he's literally done nothing but shit the bed.
Well, because I think that shows a testament as to like the coaching staff in Green Bay. Because I mean, look at what has been going on with this backup quarterbacks late. Well, these quarterbacks that have sat for a little bit. Because we got you had Aaron Rodgers come in after Favre lit it up. Then you got Jordan Love comes in after Rodgers, lights it up. And then you got Malik Willis. I know he didn't even come close to sitting nearly like he was here for like 2 seconds compared to what Love and Rodgers were before he finally got his first start.
Yeah,
but Love
and that was based off
comes
injury,
in
though.
His first game. I know we ran like 90% of the game, but against the Titans, like it was a legit game. Like he threw the ball. He looked great. And I think that just shows a big thing on coaching is that some of these teams, they've got a coaching staff that has the ability to prepare their quarterbacks better. And I think that's where a lot of it too, when it comes to Caleb Williams, is why I don't think Caleb Williams is going to survive in Chicago. Because I was looking at a lot of training camp videos out of Chicago. And they were teaching their quarterbacks how to slide. They were using fucking super soakers and a fucking water slide.
Like that's not going to be your everyday surface. That's not going to be, that's not a realistic simulation of what on-field things are. Well, and nor is it like, a proper way to prepare a fucking QB that's about to be getting touched physically every single game by defensive players that are, and now that I'm looking at it, now that we are looking at it, I'm convinced 100% that Jaden Daniels should have been the consensus number 1 overall pick in
Yeah.
terms of QBs.
Well, because like watching those videos in Chicago, like they were fucking around. It's like there was no seriousness in it. Like the coaches were like ha, 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 spraying water guns at the quarterbacks and shit.
They're
And
too
then you
busy
got
having
quarterbacks
fun.
that are like, wee, sliding down or sliding through the freaking water slide.
You look at some of these NFL teams that have actually made strides in terms of making their teams better, and the Lions comes to mind, and it's mainly because of the environment and the culture that they've instilled since Dan Campbell's taken over.
Mm-hmm.
You do not see that with Chicago. You do not see that with anything that they've got going on. Listen, I feel like Chicago made all the right moves this offseason, including securing a QB of the future. And that's not to say, I'm not sitting there saying, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, I know for a fact that Caleb Williams is going to be a bust, because we don't. Do I think he deserved to be the number 1 overall pick? No, honestly, I thought they should have went like defense, or they should have traded out of it. And then they should have, if they were going to draft him later and spend money on a QB now.
Like I 100% feel like they should have built around Justin Fields, because look what Fields is fucking doing in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I was about to
He gets
ask,
out of the shit show in Chicago.
Russell Wilson in any capacity starting for the Steelers this year?
In all honesty, no, not anymore.
They don't have a reason to give it to anybody else. Fields is going to be the Steelers franchise QB from this point on.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. And I think Russell Wilson is just being another. I know he's playing backup quarterback to him, but I truly feel like he's just another technical quarterback coach out there for him. Because every time something happens,
opposed to it right now, because now, like he's seeing success with that Steelers team, whether he's playing or not. And I do think that there will be another team, a QB needy team at that. The Dolphins come to mind the most, that will reach out, because it's going to become apparent sooner rather than later that, of course, Justin Fields is not giving up the starting spot.
No.
So there's only a matter of time that we see a team like Miami giving a call to a team like that. Because Miami would honestly be an ideal spot for Russell Wilson, especially this season. Like, he can turn that team around if he really wanted to.
No, I don't think so. I think Miami would be better off with Tua.
I just don't think right now, if you're looking at options, and it really does depend on when Tua does come back. If you're looking at your QB options, you're not looking at a whole lot of better options. Yes, some of the other options are younger, but physically, in terms of talent, I mean, whether or not people currently look at Russell Wilson as a starting QB, I bet he could give it a go, and I bet he would be competent in that spot. It really does depend on offensive line play, and it really does depend on system, I suppose. And it depends on transitioning, because if you don't give him like at least an off season to prepare for something like that, especially at the age that he's at, you don't want him just fucking learning an offense on the fly. So I do suppose maybe like if you want to really like throw the hat in at another QB, getting in another QB until Tua does or does not come back, you could reach out to another team with a younger QB that you know for a fact isn't going to get that start. I've mentioned Zach Wilson, I've mentioned Ritter, or I've mentioned a Pickett. Like it's just like it could. I just think about Baker Mayfield, about how quick the Browns were to write him off, and I'm just thinking like if the Browns would have stuck it out with Baker Mayfield,
they would be a scary ass team right now.
It'd be a significant. Dude, they traded for two. They got 2 players over the last 2 or 3 seasons that I think is scary additions that a lot of people are kind of overlooking, and it's kind of Amari Cooper and the Jerry Jeudy trade. Like, yes, Jerry Jeudy didn't do shit in Denver, but look at their offensive struggles overall. That was not just Jerry Jeudy. Okay, and I'm pretty sure Jerry Jeudy was hurt for one of those seasons. And on top of that, Cooper has been consistent for every team he's fucking played for. So for me to understand why he's been kind of shifted and moved around the league more than I think he's deserved it is kind of beyond me, honestly, because Cooper, literally every team, like with the Raiders, when he played for, he was in Dallas all those years. He was literally the top guy in Dallas. He was one of the only people that fucking Dak Prescott was throwing to. So to me, in my head, like if I'm the Browns, and if I'm really trying to get like, why fucking wait till the offseason? I mean, think about it. Deshaun Watson's healthy, right? He's not the worst QB he might be the worst QB in the league right now. But yeah, his contract's fucking garbage. And
Well, I mean, Deshaun Watson is quote unquote healthy. Like, yeah, I don't think he's really dealing with it like physical injuries, but
you think
mentally,
he's
I don't
dealing
think
with
he's
some
all
mental
there.
shit. No, he went through a lot of shit over the last 2 or 3 seasons. Honest to God, like
Right. And
the idea that he's even starting in this league is kind of mind-boggling to me. I thought honestly when he got caught on all that shit, he should have been blackballed and blackmailed from the league entirely. Like he shouldn't even be playing. But the fact that we're sitting here right now talking about him in this vein or in this situation, I do believe that the Browns should cut their losses in all capacities, whether or not that's trading him, trying to figure out just fuck it, like what's it gonna hurt for a team like the fucking Carolina Panthers to make that trade? They're taking a chance. That's all they're doing. You know? And the worst that can happen is it doesn't fucking work out, you know? And they can just get rid of them. They can just cut them. Those teams got those, you got those. And on top of that, I'm pretty sure the Browns. Sorry, guys. It looks like I'm on my own here. Well, as I was saying, it looks like the Browns are in a situation where their QB situation is looking a little tense. And in my opinion, I do believe that they should work on finding a solution sooner rather than later, because if you run through the situation and you get your team kind of all in sorts, like you let the team get too messy, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard for that team to recover from it, and that could be 1, 2, 3 seasons from now. I do believe that maybe a trade for Deshaun Watson, maybe to a team like the Giants or a team like the Panthers, a team that needs a pocket passer, a team that needs just a stand-up QB, would be ideal. Because what's the worst that can happen? I mean, trading Deshaun Watson for Bryce Young, it could be worse. You could trade Deshaun Watson for absolutely diddly squat. I mean, even right now in this juncture, I'm sure there's a lot of teams that wouldn't hate it. So, but now that I'm here by myself, I'm pretty sure that that's all, folks. So before I get out of here, tell you guys have a nice night, and we'll be seeing you guys again.